Hi everyone, welcome to the tutorial for Human Nature by Micheal Jackson. This is my own arrangement and it's actually my only video that has passed more than 100,000 views on YouTube. I've had a ton of requests for a tablature or a tutorial video, so here we are. I'm gonna go over the song piece by piece, as we did with some other songs already, and you will see that once you get past the intro, the verse and the first chorus, that most of the rest of the song is actually nothing but repetition of those three parts with a few little tweaks here and there. The arrangement is a bit more technical in nature. The intro is the hardest part to play of the whole song, and the chorus requires some two-hand tapping. So if you've never done that, this might actually be a good place to start, because this two-hand tapping part isn't that difficult in terms of modern acoustic playing anyway. Hi everyone, a quick word from after editing the video. I made quite a few slip-ups, but the first one is a really important one and should be rectified. In a minute, in the main video, I'll be explaining the alternate tuning in which the arrangement is written. At the start of the explanation, I will tell you to tune both E strings, the high and the low E string, down to a B, which is not correct. You should tune both of them down to a D. So just drop both strings a full step and you're good to go. The rest of the explanation about the tuning is correct, so follow through with the rest and all should be well. I also want to take a quick minute to thank all of you for the very positive reactions on the very first tutorial video, which was the one about Wicked Game. We're not building up huge viewing numbers, but the reactions are unanimously positive, lots of thumbs up, so that keeps me motivated to put out new stuff like this new tutorial video on human nature. So have fun with the video and I'll see you next time. Bye. So let's get started. A few pointers again. The guitar this time is in an alternate tuning, so you have to tune your low E string down to a B. You have to tune your high E string down to a B. And then you have to raise the B string to a C. So this is basically a double drop D tuning, where you will raise the B string to a C. So you get D, A, D, G, and then C and D. I came out with this tuning I was working in DADGCD tuning to get the arrangement going, and I couldn't get the intro to fit between parentheses the tuning. So I figured out that if I raised the A string up to a C, things would work out better, and they did. So this is basically a DADGCD tuning. Instead of dropping the B to a lower A, you're gonna raise it up to a C. So here we go. The intro is the hardest part of the whole song. It will take some time because this is one long hammer-on and pull-off pattern in constant 16 notes. So you get 4 notes for each beat, 16 notes for each bar, and this throughout the whole intro. Then you will have to add in the bass notes and ultimately even a percussive click. So let's take a quick look. So this is how it sounds. That's the intro, so it's repeated a few times, but that's basically everything there is to it. So we're starting out 3rd fret on the A string and a pinky on the 5th fret on the high E string. So I'm going to show you the hammer-on and pull-off pattern first, then I'm going to add in the bass note. So this is what the hammer-on and pull-off pattern looks like. So as you notice, most of the melody is played by the left hand, but there are a few times where you have to pluck an open string or a fretted note again with the right hand. This is to keep that 16 note pattern, moving all along. So this is what it looks like a bit slower. So pinky, pull off to the 4th fret, hammer on, pull off to the 2nd fret, and then pluck the note again. Hammer on, and then pull off to an open string. Pluck again, hammer on, and then hammer on to the 4th fret. Let's add in the bass notes. That's what it looks like. So the low D bass note, along with the 2nd fret, is played while you do the pull off with the pinky. A bit more up to tempo. And now we're going to add in the percussive clicks. So on 2 and 4, each time gonna hit the bass note with the side of the thumb. The first click is played together with the middle finger. So you're going to pluck the middle finger on the high E string, and you will strike the bass strings with lightly with the side of the thumb at the same time. Second one is all by itself, while the legato pattern, the hammer-ons and pull-off pattern, just keep going. A bit more slowly. Second bar. So again, first hammer-ons and pull-offs. This looks a bit strange, avoiding the ring finger, but we are going to use that finger to play one of the bass notes later on. So pinky to the middle finger, 2nd fret, hammer on to the 3rd fret, pull off to the open string, pluck again, same thing as before. And then we're gonna transfer to the B string. We're going to do that by means of a left hand tap. So, and the only thing we're doing is just hammering on strongly on the 5th fret without using a finger on the right hand to play the note. So this is what it looks like. I'm gonna slow it down. I'm gonna remove my right hand as well. That's what it looks like. See? So no right hand when that 5th fret is arriving on the B string. As soon as we hit the B string, we have transferred to that string, and we will finish the intro on that string as well. So that pattern actually looks quite similar to the one we saw in the first bar. Repluck, left hand tap, repluck, 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 and pull off to finish off with. A bit more slowly. Let's add in the bass notes. 1st fret on the low A string, 3rd fret, so that's why we needed that ring finger on the D string, and then 3rd fret on the G string. So we get this little chord. If your posture is right, you can even play the open string in between the ring finger and the pinky, and you get this really nice B flat added 9th sound. Part with the bass note. So first bass note is the low B string, second one is just an open A string. So that second bass note is moving on the pull-off. and then click on 2 and 4 again. The first click is exactly the same, playing the percussive hit while you're plucking with the middle finger. One more time, really slow, try not to mess it up. And that's the whole intro. So let's put those two bars together. And then it's straight into the first verse. So don't get discouraged. The intro is the hardest part to play of the whole song. The hammer-on and pull-off movement alone will take some time to getting used to, then adding in the bass notes, then adding in the click. It's also not really the most recognizable part of the whole song. If you can play the verse and the chorus, most people will no doubt recognize it. But as a badge of honor, if you get this in your fingers, then your left-hand control is really what it should be. So onto the first verse. So we're always going to play around with the same chord shapes, but they're a bit strange chord shapes. Since we are in a alternate tuning, the regular chord shapes like C, G, D, they don't really work, so we have to work with a few other shapes. But luckily they're not that difficult. So we're starting out 3rd fret on the low A string, 4th fret on the B string, 5th fret on the high E string. Now we're moving over to a bar chord on the 2nd fret with the pinky for the melody note. That little part, those last 2 notes, are stolen from the Steve Lukather funk part in the original. So there are these very nice single note lines, arpeggios, little funky bits that Steve Lukather played on the original recording, and I've tried to add in as much as possible of that part. So those last 2 notes should be very short. And then back 3rd fret with the middle finger, 1st finger on the B string, hammering on to the 4th fret. So that one is sliding from the 2nd fret to the 4th fret while playing the bass note. And then finishing off with another one of those Steve Lukather fills. Middle finger on the 5th fret, pulling off to the 4th fret, pulling off to an open string. And those chord shapes you just played, that's what the whole arrangement of the verse is built around. So everything else will now seem quite familiar. So here we go. So the first part. Same chord shape. Moving over to the 5th fret. That little embellishment with the pinky, Tommy Emmanuel fans will recognize this. He does this all the time. The difficult part is the chord has to remain where it is, at the same fret, while only the pinky moves up and down to play this little embellishment. If this is too fast, then just leave out the embellishment. Sounds fine. Okay. But if you want to try it, it's taking the chord and only moving up the pinky really quickly to the 5th fret and back, while the bass note remains at the 3rd fret to the end chord. Second part of the verse. So that probably already looks familiar. It's variations on what we saw in the beginning of the chorus. Now the only chord change that we haven't seen yet, bar chord on the 7th fret, bass note on the low E on the 9th fret. So what you play is on the bar chord on the G string and the high E string for the first chord, and then add the 9th fret and play the B string and the E string at the same time. With the click again. So. So again, that last part is one of those Steve Lukather parts. So it's a very lush sounding chorus arpeggio in the beginning. In the original, sorry, not in the beginning, in the original. So starting out with open strings, 4th fret on the G string, 2nd fret on the G string, open G string. That's the whole first verse. Now the first verse is repeated, so we're gonna do exactly the same thing, but you will see that the 2nd and 3rd verse are almost identical to the first one. Only at the end, when we transfer to the chorus, there is one little fill that is added. So let me play the first verse one more time and then just play it on repeat and head over to the chorus. Repeat. This is the only fill that is added. Open string, D string, and then open G string, 2nd fret on the B string, hammering onto the 4th fret. And that's the little lick we are going to use to end up in the chorus. Now, the chorus does use a few chord shapes that will look familiar. For example, the C minor chord with the root on the 5th string. But it doesn't sound like a C chord. Because of the alternate tuning, you get something different. But this is the chord which we will use to start out the intro. So 3rd fret on the A string, 5th fret and 5th fret on the G and D string, and 4th fret on the B string. So this is what you get when we start out with the intro. Really short on the 3rd fret, and then exactly the same fingering on the 5th fret, and I will often add the top string as well. So and then we're off to a bit more technical part, and by that I mean 2 hand tapping. Now maybe you have done that speedy 2 hand tapping, Eddie Van Halen 3 notes, string type stuff. We're going to use it a bit differently. If you've seen some modern acoustic players, you will see them moving their fingers around the neck all the time. So we are going to use one hand to play the bass part and one hand to play the melody part. We're going to use the right hand to play the bass part. Now, this is the easiest part. I always use my middle finger, but this is a habit. Maybe for you, the first finger or 3rd finger works easier. But this is what we're going to do. We're going to start on the 5th fret of the low A string, and each bass note is on the beat. 1, then over to the 4th fret, to the 2nd fret, and then pull off to an open string. So if you put that in tempo, it's always just on the beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, pull off. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the part for the right hand. Now the part for the left hand is a bit trickier. So we're going to play the melody in the left hand, and this is what it sounds like. plucking it right now with the right hand, but in a moment we're going to transfer to left hand tapping as well. So 9th fret on the D string, 9th fret on the high E string. Now remember, these two strings are both tuned to a D note, so this is an octave. These are the same notes, only an octave apart. The rhythm is a bit more difficult because only the first note lands on the beat and everything else is right in front or right behind the beat. Now this may make it a bit more difficult to get the melody into your ears and fingers, but it will actually make things a bit more simple if we are going to add in the bass part as well. So this is what it sounds like if I count along. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And where I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, that's where the bass notes should end up. So as you can see, there is a little gap in between most melody notes to put in the bass notes. So you are not really training to learn a very independent part between the left and the right hand. They're actually quite complementary. If you play the melody, in between the melody notes you have to tap the bass notes. So there's not much going on at the same time. It can be learned separate from each other as well. So now we're gonna move over, instead of plucking it, we're gonna tap it with the left hand. So that's what happens. Tapping, sliding, tapping, sliding, sliding, pull off. Let's add in the bass note. So on that 1, 2, 3, 4, that's where the right hand comes in. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's what it sounds like if you put them together. Now, as you can see, right and left are actually complementary. There is not much independence going. There's not many places where your left hand has to do one thing while your right hand is doing something else. Only the very first note is together. These three. So hammering on to the 9th fret, hammering on to the 5th fret, that's done together. 1, if you get that going, or with that in the back of your mind, how those two lines work together, it shouldn't be that difficult if you have some experience into hand tapping to get this going. It will take some getting used to, but once it clicks, it's actually not that difficult. If this is the very first time you're experimenting with this two-handed technique, this is actually one of the easier examples compared to what you will find when you listen to John Gum or Thomas Leap or people like that. That's usually a lot more complicated than this. So even if you've never tried it before, just give it a go and see what happens. Now we're done with the two hand tapping. Let's start with the rest of the chorus. Let's start out from the end of the verse. Again, the same C minor chord. And then over to this little chord, so a bar at the 2nd fret. Low A string 2nd fret as the bass note. And then 4th fret on the G string, 2nd fret on the B string, and 4th fret on the high E string. So move over, slide to the 5th fret with the pinky. Bar at the 4th fret, middle finger at the 5th fret of the high E string, hammer on with the pinky, pull off, and melody note at the 4th fret. Then I play the bass note with a thumb, like I already said in other arrangements. That's a habit of mine. You can just as well play it with the first finger and play the same fill to head back into the second part of the chorus. So. The other part that's different is the one that's coming up now. It's the end of the chorus. Open B string, sliding from the 2nd fret on the G string to the 4th fret and back. And then to an open string. 4th fret on the D string. And a little harmonic on the 7th fret to conclude the first chorus. So. And that's the whole first chorus. Now, if you get this chorus under your fingers, the 2nd, 3rd, whatever chorus that pops up in the song is gonna be almost exactly the same. There isn't much room for variation with the 2 hand tapping part. There is one little fill that I like to add once in a while, is between the, let's call it a C minor shape on the 3rd fret and the 5th fret. Sometimes I like to play this little fill, 7th fret on the B string and 10th fret on the high E string. Like one of those high vocal ad-libs that Micheal Jackson used to pop out all the time, and then it sounds like this. Just a really quick little fill. So that's the difference between the first and the second part. Just 7th fret on the B string, 10th fret on the high E string. Into the second verse. Second verse is exactly the same as the first verse. Except for the fact that the first verse is repeated, is played 2 times, and the second verse is only played 1 time. Straight into the next chorus. Second chorus is exactly the same as the first chorus, except for the last part, because we are heading into the interlude or the bridge. I will play through the whole chorus and I'll stop and give some extra explanation with the parts that change at the end of the chorus. So here we go. This is the part that's different. So we're ending up on this. We know this chord already. This is again my thumb on the bass note, but you could just play a bar chord across the whole 2nd fret. Low E string, D string, G string, B string, and high E string. Back to the same chord, back to the same bar. We do this 3 times in total. And then 5th fret, 4th fret, 5th fret, so 5th fret on the G string, 4th fret on the B string, 5th fret on the high E string, and an open low A string. So we're moving down from the pinky to the 4th fret to the 2nd fret, and then just an open B string. Exactly the same with an open D as the bass note. And we are adding one last open string to head back into the intro. And then the interlude pops up. Now the interlude is exactly the same as the intro, not a single difference, not even in the way we transfer into the next verse. So. And on to the next verse. Let me play that last part, so the second chorus, the ending, and how we transfer to the interlude and then to the next verse, just in one quick go. So. That's it. Third verse starts out with a bit of an idea I stole from one of the live versions of this song. So in this part, Micheal Jackson can be seen in the This Is It video asking his band to play a full stop, a full break. Nobody's playing anymore. And he's asking to let it simmer, just to give it a lot of room to build some expectation up and then continue with the song. So that's what we're doing in this arrangement as well. We're playing with the same chord shapes as before, and we're really gonna clip this last little chord short. And then we're gonna move up to the 12th fret and play 3 natural harmonics on the D string, on the G string, and on the E string. And we're just gonna leave that ringing out until we feel, or until you feel like continuing the song. And you can choose whatever length you want. It's a bit of a dramatic pause, and you can make that as long as shorter you want. I think in the version I put on YouTube, I just continue playing right away, but this is something that would probably work best or work better with a live audience instead of a YouTube or studio recording. So if you're playing this live, feel free to stretch this moment out a little longer just for dramatic effect. So. So on and so on. So the rest of the verse, sorry, is exactly the same compared to the first verse. So let's give it a go. I'm gonna play straight into the last chorus as well, which is identical to the other choruses, and then we end back up in the intro with a little twist this time. But first, the last verse. So that was the last verse. On to the next chorus. So you know this part, the first time we played it 3 times, last time we're only gonna play it 2 times. And straight back into the intro, which serves as ending this time. So this last chorus is the same as the chorus before the interlude. We're only clipping that last little part. There's 2 bars gone. So instead of repeating 3 times, we're only going to repeat it 2 times. That's the only difference. Then into the ending. The intro is the same as the ending, except for the last 4 bars. I'll play through it, and once again I will stop and provide some extra explanation when it is needed. So let's take the end of the chorus with it. can see only those last 4 bars are something new. So thumb or any other finger, if you use any other finger, probably be the first finger. Thumb for the first fret on the low E string. Pull off to an open string. So you start on the first string on the high E string, pull off to an open string, hammering on again. Playing the open B string 2 times. 3rd fret on the G string. And then remove the first finger. So if you do that really slowly. Chord, 1st fret, open G string, 1st fret on the high E string. And that's it. Now you should be able to play Human Nature on one guitar through the whole song through. Don't get discouraged by the intro, that's the hardest part. Keep at it. The hammer-on and pull-off pattern will take some time to get into your fingers. But other than that, compared to modern acoustic or solo acoustic guitar playing standards, most of the arrangement is pretty doable. There's nothing too crazy going on. The 2 hand tapping part in the chorus seems or looks harder than it actually is to play. So give it a go, and who knows, maybe post a video and let me see what you can make of the arrangement. Have fun with it and see you next time. Bye.